Today, we will learn comparison of fractions. In general, we can easily compare whole numbers. For example, 23 marbles are more as compared to 12 marbles. But comparing fractions is not easy. For instance, 14 by 23 may appear greater than 2 by 3, but in reality it is smaller. To find out which fraction is smaller and which is greater, it is necessary to understand how to compare fractions. So let's first understand how to compare like fractions. Fractions whose denominators are equal are called like fractions. Here is one chocolate. We have made 15 equal parts of it. If we take 4 parts from it, then the fraction will be 4 by 15. Similarly, the fraction of 7 parts will be 7 by 15. Through this, we understand that the total number of parts is equal, but the numerators are different. Since the numerator represents the number of parts that are taken, the fraction whose numerator is greater will be the greater fraction. Therefore, for any two fractions whose denominators are equal, the fraction with the greater numerator is of greater value. Since the numerator 7 of 7 by 15 is greater than the numerator 4 of 4 by 15, therefore the fraction 7 by 15 is greater than 4 by 15. Now suppose the denominators of fractions are not equal, then how will you compare them? Think for a while. Let me tell you, fractions whose denominators are not equal are called unlike fractions. Now let's learn how to compare such fractions. First, we will compare fractions with equal numerators. Suppose we have taken two similar cakes. We made 5 equal pieces of one cake and 8 equal pieces of another cake. If we compare one piece of each cake, then we can say that the size of one piece of cake which is cut into 5 pieces is bigger than the size of one piece of cake which is cut into 8 parts. Since we can express these fractions as 1 by 5 and 1 by 8, we can say that the fraction 1 by 5 is greater than 1 by 8. Similarly, if we take 3 pieces from each cake, then the fraction will be 3 by 5 and 3 by 8. Here also, we can say that the fraction 3 by 5 is greater than 3 by 8. But for the fraction whose denominator is smaller, the size of each piece will be bigger. Thus, the value of all the parts of this fraction is greater when compared to the parts of the other fractions. Therefore, for any two fractions, if the numerators are equal, then the fraction with the smaller denominator will be the greater fraction. Now imagine if both numerators and denominators of fractions are not equal, then how do we compare them? Suppose we take two similar types of paper. We make 3 parts of one and 5 parts of another. If we take one part of the first paper, it will be represented as a fraction 1 by 3. Similarly, if we take 2 parts of the second paper, then it will be represented as 2 by 5. Here, the denominators of both are not equal and nor is the shape of their parts. Similarly, their numerators are also not equal. That is, the number of parts taken is different. Therefore, it is difficult to compare them. In such situations, we need to make the denominator equal in both fractions by finding their common denominator. Since the denominator of each fraction represents the total equal parts of a whole, making the denominators of the two fractions equal means making their total number of parts equal. In order to do this, we will find the equivalent fraction with the same denominators for both fractions. For this, we will first find the LCM of the denominators. Since the LCM of 3 and 5 is 15, it is clear that we need to make 15 equal parts of each paper so that the denominator of both the fractions will be 15. We will multiply the numerator and denominator of 1 by 3 by 5 to get the fraction 5 by 15. Similarly, the fraction 2 by 5 is multiplied by 3 to get 6 by 15. Here, the denominators are equal. When the denominators are equal, then the fraction with greater numerator is greater. Since the numerator 6 of 6 by 15 is greater than the numerator of 5 by 15, therefore, the fraction 6 by 15 is greater than 5 by 15. Thus, the fraction 2 by 5 is greater than 1 by 3. Thus, we can say that when the denominators of fractions are equal, then the fraction with the smaller numerator is small and the fraction with the larger numerator is big. When the numerators of fractions are equal, then the fraction with the smaller denominator is big and the fraction with the bigger denominator is small. When the numerators and denominators of fractions are not equal, then take the LCM of the denominators, convert the fraction into equivalent fractions, thus making denominators equal, and compare their numerators. Today, we have learnt the comparison of fractions. In the next video, we will see some examples related to it.